Hello, hello. Welcome to the Channel Wisdom Circle. It is Friday, also Venus Day, a day of love. Hey, Quentin, day of love, also self love. And today, the Cosmic Collective Consciousness wants to talk about loving yourself enough to rest and not feel guilty about it. Okay. So, I don't exactly know where this conversation is going because you know how I channel and I don't know what I'm about to say until I say it. So so the Cosmic Collective Consciousness has a lot to say about this today. So let's see what it is. So what they want to talk about is mainly when it comes to rest, the guilt that's involved. And it's interesting that this is coming through on a Friday because many of us rest on the weekends, or at least we should be resting on the weekends. We really should be resting all throughout the week. But some of us that are always on a grind, okay, we talked about that before. I think earlier this week, actually, always on the grind, or entrepreneurs, business owners, or you may just be working a lot to provide for your family, to provide for yourself, to think, all of these things. There's a certain guilt that sets in when it's time to rest. I always tell you guys how rest is just as important as action. And without rest, we cannot be our best selves and we cannot show up properly to meet our moments and meet the circumstances, meet our challenges, and so on and so forth. We are weaker when we show up exhausted and tired and defeated, right? We are much weaker when we meet our challenges that way. And then sometimes the challenges win because you showed up to that battle weak. Okay, we talked about having the willingness to fight for yourself yesterday. So this is another conversation about fighting for yourself, but and fighting against yourself. And so parts of fighting against yourself is that guilt. Naturally, in especially in the society, and I'm talking mostly to people in the U.S. right now. So definitely in U.S. society, but many capitalistic societies are very much so in the mindset of work, work, work. Your value is quantified by how much your output is. That is your value. That is false, but that is what's ingrained in us, is that is our value. So there's guilt when you're not producing, when you're not outputting, when you're not doing something. There's guilt there, and you either think that you think that you're lazy. Men feel like they're not being a provider when they're resting. There's all these different things that go on in our psychology that tells us why we have to keep going and going and going. And again, if you keep going and going and going, what happens is you don't end up the strongest person as you are going through your challenges and as you are going through your obstacles, as you are meeting your successes and so on and so forth. You're not going to show up 100% if you're not balancing those things out. So they also want to, this is interesting, they also want to uh, point out some things within our ancestral DNA, okay? Especially for those of you who are African American and other cultures as well, but we're going to zero in on African Americans right now. There, it is within your DNA. Understand this: your ancestors, it was unsafe for them to rest. It was unsafe for them to rest. That is in your DNA. So sometimes the guilt that we feel when we are uh, resting, when we are not producing, when we are not outputting something, is ancestral. Sometimes it's deeper than just the surface level feeling. And so there are many other cultures who also have ancestors that went through periods of time like that, okay, where it was unsafe for many different reasons to rest, and it was output, 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 work hard, work hard, work hard, okay. And that guilt really, really seeps in. And when something is ancestral, when it's deep inside, that's so deep, that is within your cells. And we just did a class at Mystic University last night regarding the concept of Ka, which comes from ancient Egypt, which also um, has ancestral generational energy in it and is part of our life force energy. And that also affects us. So when we think of Ka and we think of ancestral DNA as well, which are similar but kind of separate concepts, they all have that energy in them, that energy that in it that comes from our ancestors, right? Divine timing that comes from our ancestors. And so what you're doing when I say meet the challenge and fight against yourself, you're fighting sometimes against your inherent DNA, sometimes things that are deeply embedded. That's ancestral trauma. Okay, that is also programming. So when you take the ancestral trauma mixed with the programming of society, what you get with when it comes to that and the lack of being able to rest and the guilt when you are resting and feeling unsafe, sometimes we feel like it's guilt, but it's actually a feeling of lack of safety, and you don't know that because it's in your system. It's not in your mind, right? And you may say, okay, I'm feeling, for some reason I just feel uncomfortable resting. I always have to be doing something. I have to be outputting. I have to be making something. I have to be doing something. And rest is wrong, right? It feels wrong to rest. Sometimes, again, that's coming from that ancestral DNA. And so it's important that you fight against that. You have to fight against that, break that generational curse, break that generational trauma, and allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to sit on your throne for a little bit, okay? Of what you've already done and what you've already accomplished. And there's also a thing with people who tend to not want to rest a lot, feel like there's always more to do, and there is always more to do. Know that there's never not more to do, okay? But if we see our life only through that lens, then we're not able to actually enjoy the fruits of our labor, because we're not seeing the roses. We're not smelling the roses. We're just saying, what's the next rose? What's the next rose? Regardless, I just collected all these roses, and now as soon as I collect them, before I collect them, that's all that matters. I need the rose. I need the rose. Now I collected them, and I have all these roses here, and I'm ignoring them because they don't matter anymore because I'm just concerned with getting more. So focus on what you actually already have. In addition to, like I said, your dreams are spiritually necessary. So no one's saying don't go after your dreams. No one's saying don't, push hard and go for what you know, because yes, you should be doing that. But again, there's balance. There's balance. And this is the problem in the world today, is that most people take things as black and white. You're either go, 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 or you're doing nothing. And you'd rather be the go, 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 because doing nothing means you're not achieving anything. Okay, so you'd rather be all in or all out, right? And so the answer is not all in or all out. It's right in the middle. And sometimes it's a sliding scale. Okay, sometimes it's all in for a day or a week, and then you slide it back down to the middle. Okay, and then sometimes it's all rest because you've been going all in for so long that you need to rest. But both extremes are not good. Anything too much of anything is not a good thing. I'm sure you guys have heard that a bunch of times. So that's where you feel like you're talking to me. I am. Yes. Well, the cosmic collective consciousness speaks through me. Like I said, I never know what I'm about to say until I say it, and it gives you exactly what you need to hear right now. So, Ascension Guide says, I think the collective is starting to accept the need for rest as conversation around the nervous system are becoming more common. Yes, yes, I noticed that as well. And I'm glad to see that, because it's so important. And again, when it comes to our nervous system, when we're talking about that ancestral trauma, okay, when we're talking about that ancestral trauma, that is deep within the nervous system. The nervous system is directly impacted by that. So you have to understand that your value is inherent. Your value is not based on your output. Your value is not based on your titles. Your value is not based on how much money you make. Your value is not based on any of those things. Your value is inherent. Yes, you should be doing something in the world. Yes, you should be doing things, okay? But again, there's a balance. There's a balance. And so as we are on Friday, okay, and so for those of you who do not have to work this weekend, I need you to rest, okay? Especially if you have been going and going and going. I need you to rest. And if you start to feel guilty for that rest, if you start to feel guilty for the rest, you need to battle against it. Take over with the conversation we had yesterday about becoming a warrior for yourself and against yourself. Those parts of you that want to resist, okay? You have the ability to overcome anything inside you. It doesn't matter if it's ancestral. So some people, we're going to talk about this too. Some people, and I've seen this online, people talking about ancestral generational curses and generational trauma as if it is the be all end all, as if it is 100% powerful over you and you can't do anything about it because it's ancestral. That's a lie. Okay. I'm going to gong on that. That's a lie. That's a lie. Okay. You have the power over your energy system. You have the power over your body. You have the power over all of it. And through things like biokinesis, if you're not sure what biokinesis is, that's also something I teach at Mystic University. It is the ability to consciously control and heal and change and manipulate your body, your physical body on the cellular level or below, even molecular, on the quantum level as well. But when we're talking about biology on the cellular and molecular level, you can actually create change within yourself through your own consciousness. Okay? It is possible. That's one way that I healed myself from paralysis years ago, was through biokinesis. Okay? Biokinesis is very, very real, is very, very powerful. Okay? And also understand that there is nothing that you can't change about yourself. So for anyone who wants to use that as an excuse, I'm telling you right now, I'm not an excuse. Okay. Don't try to use that as an excuse because I'm not accepting it. All right. And you shouldn't either. All right. Someone said, because the last few weeks I've been getting hella rest and not consistent staying on the go. Okay, good, good, good. I love that. I love that. Yes, getting more rest is super, super, super important. And anytime I need rest, I just take rest. I don't care what's going on. If I know that I'm like feeling like here, if you start to feel that burnout, you start to feel that um, uh, like your glass is getting a little too full, but not in a good way. It's time to slow down and take that rest. And really going against that feeling within you that says, no, you can't do that route right now. When you say, I need rest, and someone says, hey, you need to rest. How many times has this happened to you guys? A friend of yours says, you need to take a day off. You really need to blah, blah, blah. Or you may say that to yourself, but then a part of you inside says, no, I can't do that because blah, 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 blah. I can't do that because I have this coming up. I can't do that because blah, 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 blah. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You have to put yourself first, and you have to push that guilt to the side or obliterate it. But what you can't do is allow that guilt, allow that generational trauma to stop you. You can't allow it to stop you from doing what you know is necessary, because guess what? Even if you just rest for a half a day, it will make a world of difference, because then you will be able to show up to that thing that you have coming up properly and with more energy and with more power. And then you'll be able to be more excited about those things and not feel like you're forcing yourself or you're pushing through. Anytime you feel like you're pushing through, that means you need rest, because life should not be endured, it should be lived. We shouldn't be pushing through things. Okay, you should show up because you are ready to show up. And if you know you need to show up on a particular date, make sure you get rest before that in some way, shape, or form. Everyone can take some hours of rest. And I know people will come back and be like, well, I have children, I have this, I have that. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care in terms of having an excuse. Okay. Everyone can find time. Everyone can find time to create that rest. Whatever you need to do, find time, because guess what? Even as a parent, you are not going to show up at your best as a parent if you are burnt out, if you are tired, if you are pushing through. You are not going to be the best parent. You're just not. So there's always a solution. Like I always say, the solution is always there. The solution's in the room, the solution's within you. The solution is there. You have to allow it. And sometimes that's putting your pride aside. Sometimes that's putting your guilt aside. Sometimes it's putting your generational trauma aside and saying, no, I'm important. I have value, and I choose to rest right now. I choose to rest. All right. Someone said, I struggle with resting when life isn't busy and then having time to rest when I absolutely need it. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. And that's the thing, the having trouble resting when life isn't busy. So when you actually do have the time, to rest and you still feel guilty for resting. It's again because it feels uncomfortable sometimes. It feels very uncomfortable to rest when that's not what your nervous system is used to. That's not what you're wired for. And again, going back to that generational trauma, especially for African Americans, when in your family's history, it was not safe for them to rest. So that is a nervous system response. If you are resting, you're in trouble. If you are resting, something bad might happen. So that is necessary for you to go in and heal those things first of all. And even until those things are healed, you can heal them very, very quickly. But even until those things are healed, you got to push past it anyway. You got to push past it anyway. So doing both are important. Yes, and I was actually going to say that, Ascension Guide, schedule it in. Just as you schedule in work, when we wake up in the morning, most of you, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing on your mind? Is it work? Most people, it is. If you wake up in the morning, the first thing on your mind is work, then you're doing it wrong. Work is a means to an end, right? If you wake up and the first thing on your mind is your life purpose, and that also happens to be your job, that's okay because that's passion behind it. That's a good thing. But your first thing on your mind should really be what can I do for myself today? What can I do for myself today? What's going to feed my soul? Because that's also a form of rest. Because when you're pushing through and you're not giving your soul what it needs, you're depleting your energy. And back to the class we did last night in Mystic University about Ka, you're depleting your Ka. You're depleting that life force energy. And you have to make it up. But guess what makes it up? When you are fulfilling your life purpose, when you are doing things in joy, when you are enjoying your life. We talked about joy the other day as well, doing things that bring you joy. When's the last time you did something that you truly, truly enjoy? Think about that, right? So all of these things need to be mixed into that rest. Sometimes that rest is what I was talking about the other day, wall time, just staring at the wall, not doing anything at all. Because what happens when you're in those moments of rest, the universe is able to give you messages, downloads, your spirit guides are able to speak to you, your ancestors are able to speak to you, whatever your guiding forces are that you work with or connect to, your higher self, all of those things are able to connect and get into your conscious mind more easily because there's not so many things blocking it. And so when you have that, then you're able to have clarity. Know that when you are on the go all the time, your mental clarity is not there. When you are at rest, clarity comes. There's a difference. That's the parasympathetic nervous system that creates a clear mind. You're able to make better decisions when you are at rest versus when you are at go, 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 and especially when you are at burnout. Right? She's presenting a divine blueprint, y'all. Yes, yes. Yes, I am. Pay attention. Message. So the guilt, let's go back to the guilt that you guys feel when you are trying to rest, when you want to rest, and you stop yourself from doing so because of that. Dive deep into that guilt and see where it's coming from. I'm always teaching you guys, we have the ability to scan ourselves, we have the ability to go within and really see what's going on. If we don't ask the right questions, we don't get the right answers. So a lot of times you're not going to notice what's really going on because you're not asking the question, what's going on, right? You're just going to get the surface level stuff and then run with it versus diving deeper. Anytime you dive deeper, you get more. Okay. Anytime you dive deeper, you get a more in depth answer as to what's really going on with you. And you have to know thyself. If you don't know yourself, then it's very hard to master yourself. How can you have self mastery without self knowledge? Message. How can you have self mastery without self knowledge? And you should be working on self mastery. Self mastery is extremely important. Okay. To our journey, and that it is part of the point of the journey is self-mastery. Okay, there's many points to the journey, but that's one of them, is self-mastery. And so you have to know yourself. You have to be able to go within and then be able to want a beautiful life strong enough to fight yourself for it. You have to want that strong enough to fight yourself for it, because just like I said yesterday, you are your worst enemy. Parts of you, not the whole you, parts of you inside your shadows. The devil's on your shoulder, okay? Parts of you inside are your worst enemy. You have to fight yourself sometimes. And that takes strength. That takes courage, because that's the hardest person to fight. It's easy to fight someone out here. That's why we're always pointing fingers out here, because it's easier. It's easier to place the blame. It's easier to point the finger. It's easier to create the enemy, right? Outside here, but it's much harder to face the fact that the enemy is inside. It's much harder to face the fact that you have to fight that enemy inside. So I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. And that is that you need to fight yourself sometimes. Okay. And so when you are feeling that kind of guilt, you have to push past it, and you have to rest anyway, and start to clear your mind. Start to focus on self mastery. Once you do that, once you figure out what's actually going on inside, and whatever words you come up with, what I like to tell people is, when you are looking deep inside, come up with words, because sometimes we feel an energy and we don't know how to verbalize it, because oftentimes it comes as energy, unless you're clairaudient, or clairsentient, not clairsentient, claircognizant. Sometimes the information will just drop into you, or you'll hear the word. But for a lot of people that are like clairvoyant or clairsentient, they may not hear the word, and they may not know how to verbalize it, right? So if you don't have the word, put a word to it, name it. When you name something, you gain power over it. Okay? Name it and then master it. Okay? What is self mastery? Self mastery is being able to control your state of being. Okay? Being fully able to control your state of being in every moment. That doesn't mean that someone who is self mastered may not go off a little bit here and there. That's okay. But bringing yourself back is the key. If I go off kilter, if I feel that guilt, there's no shame in feeling guilt. But am I able to push past it, or am I going to let that guilt stop me? Am I going to let that guilt actually control me and take over me and force me to burn myself out, so that now I'm not reaching the goals that I want to reach? Now I'm not creating the life I want to create, because I'm showing up weak to every battle. You have to train yourself as well. Talking about battles, you have to train yourself to battle yourself, because the first couple battles you might lose, but you keep getting up. Next thing you know, it's a knockout. So that's what you have to do. You have to train yourself to battle against yourself. But if you're never battling against yourself, if you're always just sitting down every time it shows up for the fight, and you just sit down and allow it to do its thing, you'll never win. You'll never win a battle, and you'll always be a victim of your mind, your emotions, and your traumas. Okay? Message. You don't want to be a victim of your traumas, your mind or your emotions, any of it. It's not conducive. It's not conducive to your prosperity. It's not conducive to your wellness. It's not conducive to your happiness. And I don't know about you guys, but hopefully you guys watch Mystic Temple because you want to live a better life. You want self mastery. You want that spiritual ascension, which is simply a remembrance of the ascension you already have. You want to tap into your inner power. You want to be all that you can be, and you want to ascend during this lifetime. That's what we're here for. And you want to enjoy your life while doing it, because life is not all about sacrifice. Okay? It's not about sacrifice. Life is meant to be lived, not endured. And if you are enduring life, you are doing it wrong. And there's no shame in that, but it's time to fix it, because you're in control. You're the only one who's in control over your life. No one else. I'm not in control over your life. I can tell you all that I want to tell you. At the end of the day, it is up to you. It is up to you to take the actions. I'm not going to go and take those actions for you. It's up to you. It's up to you to make the decisions. I'm not making those decisions for you. You have to make those decisions, and everyone else around you, they're not making the decisions for you. So stop going like this. You're making the decisions. You're deciding to keep pushing. You're deciding not to rest. You're deciding to show up weak to the battle. You're deciding to show up weak to the obstacle. You're deciding to show up weak to your life if you are not balancing yourself out. You need to show up strong, and you have the ability to show up strong. And like I said, it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. So the real ascension side said, we don't, guide said, we don't do victim, we don't allow victimhood here. Right. Exactly. There's no victimhood. Absolutely not. We don't do that here. You are not a victim. You are never a victim. You are the victor if you allow yourself to be. It doesn't matter what's going on. And so all the excuses in your head of why you can't, I can't, BS. BS. Find a way. Find a way. You have an obstacle right here, whatever that is, that whatever your excuse is the obstacle. Okay. Find a way around it. Find a way through it. We are creatures of adaptation. There's more than one way to do anything. Okay. Find your way. If you sit in silence and meditate on that obstacle, guess what? The solution will come. And again, that's because you're at rest and you're allowing it to come in. All right. So Alita said, getting out of the whole loops of unbalance can feel like the sunken place, but baby steps. Right. Right. So let's talk about those loops of imbalance, because a lot of times that happens, and we live life in a spiral. And so we come back to those same circumstances, those same lessons multiple times, and hopefully each time we learn that lesson a little differently until we no longer need to learn the lesson anymore because we got the whole message. Okay. And we're embodying that whole message in our lives. But when you find yourself in moments of of imbalance, which is again completely normal, okay, you just simply have to bring yourself back. Simply have to bring yourself back. But it's important to dissect the situation and understand the moment, especially as well, because that moment is there for a reason. That moment is there as a lesson. And then how can you make sure that you don't come back to that again? How can you make sure that you got the full message this time? Because a lot of times we're only getting partial part of the message each time, which is why it's a spiral. We have to come back. We have to keep coming back. But if you really ask the right questions, like I said, if you don't ask the right questions, you won't get the right answers. So if you ask the right questions, such as, what is the full message here? Not just the surface level of what I'm receiving right now, but what else? Let's dive deep into that. Let's analyze that. And for you Virgos out there, that's easy for us to do, right? I'm a Virgo. We analyze things. We love to analyze. So use your Virgo power, okay? And any other people who are good at analyzing. If you are not good at analyzing, and some people are not, just simply ask more questions and the answers will start to come. And that's very important. Sometimes, so Alita said, sometimes it shows up in new ways to test me. Right. It'll do that. It'll do that. But yeah, you do have to stay aware. You have to stay aware of yourself. You have to stay aware. Again, know thyself. And you have to stay aware of really what's going on. And when you are self aware, you also know when it's time for action and when it's time for rest. Okay. And again, it's not always one or the other. Sometimes it's a mixture. Sometimes it's like, I'm in action mode right now, but I need to make sure once a week I take a day off and I don't do anything. Or every day I need to take an hour to myself of rest, or 2 hours to myself of rest if you're super, super busy, right? And don't have the time. Okay. I'm talking to you people with your excuses. Okay. I know that we know that time is not real. It's not really real because this is the illusionary reality that we're in. But in our actual everyday life, time does have a place, and it does, in this illusion that we're in, and our ego accepts it. Time does exist in that sense. So I'm not saying that because you feel like you don't have time that you really do have time. I mean, you do. And I'm not brushing away anyone's real time constraints in their life. But what I'm telling you is, regardless of those things, those are not excuses. Regardless of those things, if you are creative and you want it bad enough, you will find a way. Because guess what? We always find a way to do the things we want to do. You always find a way, no matter how much. I'll just use an example of money. No matter how much money people don't have, they still find a way to spend money on things that don't matter. They still find a way to buy that thing that's going to give them instant gratification. You still find a way. So if you can find a way to do that, you can find some time in your life. Okay? Message. Right. So going back to going back to the guilt, she said, find a way to land on social media when when they could be resting. Yes, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna piggyback on that what Alita just said. People find a way to land on social media when they should be resting, right? You found time for that. You found time to scroll through some nonsense that didn't provide you anything, okay, other than maybe a little chuckle, but it didn't really provide you rest because now your mind, let me tell you something about social media, okay? Now we're going off on a tangent, but this is necessary. Let me tell you about social media, scrolling through social media. It puts your mind in like a quicksand zone. And they know this. That's why they built social media the way they built it, okay? It brings you down into a hole. I'm sure some of you have even felt it, and it feels like you're being hypnotized, and you're just like, and you can't stop scrolling because they know how to. It literally is hypnosis in different ways. There's many different, you guys know I'm a hypnotist. There's many different ways to use hypnosis outside of the regular, traditional, and clinical way, which is the way I use hypnosis. There are many other forms of hypnosis, and marketing and businesses and social media uses a lot of those tactics. I will tell you that 100%. They use those tactics to suck you in, okay? And you feel like you're just getting entertained. You feel like you're enjoying yourself for a moment, right? But you're not resting. You are not resting. It's not feeding you. It's actually draining you. It is actually draining you. Many of you feel the drain, but you don't know what's happening. I'm telling you what's happening. It is a drain because it's pulling at you. It is pulling at you and it is sucking you in and it is drawing your brain into and your the focus part of your brain into a hole. And then it grabs onto it and it can't let go, which is why some people have a hard time stopping scrolling. You could be scrolling for hours. That's what they call doom scrolling. Why do they call it doom scrolling? Because it's like you've become a zombie. And this is this is intentional, okay? It is intentional to keep you on the platforms and to keep programming you with whatever they want to push you, okay? So know that. So social media, taking a break on social media and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling is not rest, okay? It's not rest. You need to fight that. You need to fight that and allow yourself to actually rest. Rest is putting your phone down. Rest is allowing yourself to be with yourself. Rest is a lot of other things, but it's not social media scrolling, okay? Message. All right. So all that attention alert in flight or fight or flight. Yes, that's exactly that's very, very accurate. And depending on what it is that you like to scroll on and what it is you like to click on, they will keep showing you more of that. And a lot of it is fear baiting. A lot of it is fear mongering and all of those things. And yeah, there's just and teaching you, programming you to be a consumer, programming you to work hard all the time, never rest, programming you to do all those things. Think about the things that you consume on social media. Okay. You should be consuming more content like this. Okay. If you're consuming anything, but you still need to have time where you're not consuming anything and you're just allowing because some of what you need to consume comes from here. Why are we always consuming things from outside of us? What about the things in here that are yelling and wanting to talk to us and speak to us and we're not hearing because we're not being still enough to hear? Be a consumer of yourself. Ooh, that was good. Message. Thank you. Cosmic Collective Consciousness speaks. All right. Be a consumer of yourself. That's what you need. That is what you need. All right, guys. So I will end this with a reminder of how important it is to rest. So everything that I said today, I want to remind you all, take heed of the blueprint I gave you earlier about how to fight that feeling of guilt inside of you. Remember about the ancestral and generational trauma that especially African Americans have inside of them with regards to rest and that not feeling safe. Remember those things and tap in and go to battle against yourself in order for you to start feeling comfortable at rest. Start feeling comfortable being at rest without feeling guilty, without feeling lazy, without feeling those things. And remember, too much of anything is not good. So there has to be a balance. There should always be a balance in everything that you do. All right, that's all I have to say for today. And hopefully you guys got that message. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Rest this weekend. Okay, guys? And I will see you guys on Monday. I'm sorry, on Sunday. Remember, we have a divinity session coming up on Sunday. That's 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And that is where I dissect a new passage from the book of Rashida and allow the cosmic collective consciousness to explain what it all means. All right. And then also, I want to announce to you guys, let you guys know that we also have, or remind you guys that we have an LG talk coming up with Light Guardian Gordon. He's going to be talking about you are a god, now act like it. You've been hoodwinked. So you guys already know, if you know Gordon, you know this is going to be a no nonsense talk. This is going to be in your face, and it's going to be good. All right. So everyone, we will see you uh, on Sunday. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. And I will say in the divine language, Zor Kumti, and I will see you next time.